Good afternoon, folks. This is Bob from BBD on this 28th of August, and some analytical news joining some of the dots here. Let's start. Pakistan seems to be back again in all kinds of news. Says Pakistan evading responsibility on terror from its soil. The problem is the more we focus on Pakistan, we lose our focus on the main challenge, which is China. And sometimes I think it's done for purposes which serve domestic politics, and it's actually hindering our foreign policy. And then right after that, when Pak is evading all this and acting tough, you have MEA, India, China to resolve issues expeditiously, and then it says India calls for a diplomatic solution to border standoff. The problem is going to be Pakistan is the problem for this kind of delusional thing. As long as China continues to be Pakistan's iron brother, as long as, look at what this article says, and intensifying China-Pak pact axis. Iron brother China and Pakistan are planning to strengthen their already robust defense relationship by setting up a joint military commission, JMC, a mechanism that will pave way for greater operational coordination between their militaries. The JMC, should it materialize, will have great implications for India's security. Now, with all this happening, to me, a diplomatic solution seems just too far away, especially to status quo. If we give in with what we want, and then they'll salami slice into the central region and in the eastern region, there'll be no stopping us losing our land. And you can almost kiss the part of where the DBO is goodbye if we continue down this delusional path. Then you have this article right after that says Rajnath Jaishankar to visit Russia for SCO. Guess who else is going to be there? China and Mr. Wang. Why I am averse to this kind of stuff is because the Chinese are putting all their effort to create a illusion of normalcy, right? Here we have, for example, Champagne, who's the foreign minister of Canada, saying Champagne presses China over detainees, but that's not important. There was apparently a meeting in Rome. The Rome meeting had not been scheduled before the two foreign ministers arrived in Italy and was arranged at the last minute by the Italian Ministry for Foreign Affairs. The same thing is happening here. The Russians are trying to play matchmaker, and in this particular case, they are doing it for their own benefit because they know that if India was to take any armed action against China, the Russians will lose their biggest foil against the United States, which they don't want because they're up to no good everywhere else. As you can see, here's an article which says Russian military exercise in the Baltic Sea sets off alarms in Sweden. Then, as you already know, they are threatening military intervention in Belarus, right? So the Russians are playing this game for their benefit, and I'm not sure we should be acting as their pretty maiden to help them out of to keep playing their game, which we always somehow seem to be. While we keep thinking we are non-aligned, but my own gut feel is that the Russians are playing us like a yo-yo, just like the Chinese are. But obviously the things are really messy all over the place. You have the China firing two anti-ship missiles which would sink an aircraft carrier. Then you have a situation where UAE joins Greek drills amid tensions in the Mediterranean. Things are getting hairy, so UAE is joined. Obviously what is happening is that as I had said earlier, that this pact has opened up great space for India in the Middle East, and as you can see, you have another article by Felicia Schwartz which says Pompeo encourages more Israeli-Arab pacts. I believe Sudan is on its way to sign a pact, and there will be no time before some others do too. And we, for once, are in the right place, but we have to be a lot more active. We just can't be passive players in the unfolding drama in the Middle East and now obviously the Mediterranean. Because there too, Turkey is involved, and Turkey is acting against India's national interest and in the interest of Pakistan when it brings up Kashmir. And as Jaishankar rightly says, better opportunities for India and this is because of the Israel-UAE deal. It really does and has opened up a huge lot of opportunities in the Middle East, especially the way we've been able to build a crack between the iron relationship between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, which is going to have an extremely detrimental effect on Pakistan. The more they rely on China, they're essentially cutting their nose to spite their face. Things seem to be improving, obviously, in our immediate periphery. First, we got Maldives on our side, and then secondly, what happened is now Lanka, which I thought was an outlier, is also, I think, beginning to realize that China is not their best bet. Not especially if they want to again get back into out of the doghouse as far as the Western nations are concerned, who are after them for crimes committed during the war. And rightfully so. You have Sri Lanka's strategic security policy will have, as they've said now very clearly, India first approach through Colombo. So as far as security is concerned, they've clearly said that as if it is got to do with business, obviously they need money and China has the money. But as far as security is concerned, they will do nothing. As he strongly said here, as Harsh Pant writes, Colombo will have an India-first strategic policy outlook, arguing that while the Rajapaksa government has adopted a posture on neutrality in its dealings with major regional and global powers, he was categorical, underlining that the president has stated that we have a strategic security-wise India-first policy because we cannot be, we should not be, we can't afford to be a strategic security threat for India. Period. That's what's important. And also, as they say, as this goes on and says, things are obviously in Bengal is just not about West Bengal and Bengal. Both Bangladesh is looking to expand further east, and for that India is necessary. When India is trying to expand further east, Bangladesh is necessary. But what is amazing is that relationship between Bangladesh and India is far beyond West Bengal and Bangladesh, because there's also a growing desire on the part of the two nations to look beyond the Bengali narrative and shape the engagement by bringing in new stakeholders more in sync with the 21st century realities. There is a sizable, I did not know this, sizable Tamil and Telugu population in Bangladesh in the textile industry and tech space, and a growing number of Bangladeshi students and medical tourists are now visiting South India, thereby changing the very complexion of this engagement. It's, China may try, but if we put our best foot forward, deliver on the projects we've offered, I think China's money spent in Maldives, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh and Myanmar will almost be as good as some. This report really amuses me, by Vikram Sharma in the Deccan Chronicle. Chinese fraudster deals still remain a mystery for cops. Translators hired to retrieve data mostly in Mandarin Chinese. What this caption tells you is remain a mystery. Let me just say that China remains a ministry at our highest level of security analysts, and that is God's own truth and needs to change. We really need to get into the innards of how the Communist Party works, not how China works, right? That's the important part. But the other thing, you have this article which says China has troubles too. It's written by George P. Shultz. If people who remember, he was minister of he was I think in the George Bush government, the foreign minister for the United States. He says China's economic growth is likely to slow dramatically as its population ages and labor force shrinks. Then he says that having consumed more cement in 3 years than US did in a century, excess capacity now plagues domestic industries and drives China's global scramble for outward infrastructure lending, which itself has killed because of its stupid and slovenly handling of the coronavirus. He says serious economic and equity tensions, for example, in health and education outcomes, have grown up between urban and rural regions. And this is the reason why she wants everybody to tighten the belt and stop wasted food. And this is the real reason, not because he thinks that wasting is bad, right? Then he says, an example is of the high spend and no revenue is, an example is high-speed rail state-owned China Railways took on nearly 1 trillion in debt to build the sprawling network. A few major lines are profitable, but most are not, and interest payments alone exceed operational revenue. They are in trouble. Then you have this article which says China locks down Xinjiang in West to stop COVID, angering residents. Things are not hunky dory there, folks. They are troubled. For us, like I said earlier, you have to see their weak. We all know our weaknesses, but you now have to analyze the softest and the weakest time for China, and that is now. It may be the weakest time for India too, but I think this is the time to hit them. Obviously, fallouts of what's happening with TikTok. Kevin Mayer steps down as chief executive. I had told you earlier that he was a cowboy style guy, didn't get what he had in Walt Disney, stepped into TikTok, has gotten hammered. But where the US is missing a trick is this. Wall Street banks poised to reap bumper fees from anti-IPO. China listing to yield 300 million growth. Like I said, Citi, JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley. Like I said, these are the three banks. Incestuous relationship with the Communist Party of China. If the United States stops this, is when it will hurt China. Rest is all chaff. These are the last people standing on the United States that continue to promote China. All that Pompeo has to do while he's doing everything else is to ensure that Ant's IPO is not fails, but is either deferred or the prices are brought down. Sending a message that not all is well in the financial market for China without the United States. Important. At Taming the Dragon, Meera Shankar says, a sustained and graded economic response to the recent Chinese conduct border is needed. We should signal India's firm resolve. Economics is not going to do it. Trade is hardly going to do it. The critical part is, as this says, is move away from Huawei creates dilemma for Indian group. Huawei needs to now openly be banned. Openly be banned. Jai Hind, ladies and gentlemen. Good day.